What's up guys, Lazar here. Today we'll take a look at the upcoming Fate collab character, Archer. So two of the characters that are coming in 3.4 at 11th July, Saber and Archer. Both of them coming out from the Fate series in Honkai Star Rail. So we already covered Saber's kit in a previous video. You can go check that guide out if you want. She is quite good. Archer is also pretty good, but he's a little bit single target because he's hunt. We'll talk about everything you need to know about Archer and all that stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Of course, keep in mind Archer is basically free in the 3.4 banner. So during the update of the collab until 3.4 to 3. Version 3.6, you can claim him for free in the mail, I think. And yeah, his light cone will also be kind of free, like pseudo free, because it's not really free. In the version 3.4 update, if you spend 200 total limited pulls of any kind, any banner, you will get the light cone for free for Archer. But do keep in mind, it's don't let the FOMO make you pull something you don't want, because the light cone is not that crazy. It's just kind of a bait, to be honest, to spend 200 pulls. If you don't want to pull in this update or anything, you don't want to pull some characters, don't feel forced to, because the Lightcone is not really that much crazy. You'll find great results with the Harta store Lightcone, which is free, and you have some other options as well. But yeah, so don't feel forced to pull for this Lightcone. I mean, not pull for this Lightcone, but like for the spending event, because in like general, players will not feel forced to a signature Lightcone as much as if it's in a spending event, which is like giving them the illusion that it's free. It's not. You still spend 200 pulls on other things. If you don't want to, it's like a waste sometimes. So just keep that in mind. And moving on, let's talk about Archer now. So basically, let's talk about his kit and everything it does. Then I'll tell you about his build and teams and everything basically. So starting with at max level, he will have pretty high speed as hunt character, 105, which is kind of high, and his attack will be 620. Of course, his HP and base defense are kind of low. Aggro is also low because he's hunt, which is nice. So yeah, the speed is kind of high, attack is kind of high. So he's of course attack scaling. Let's take a look at his abilities. The kit is very simple to understand. Just bear with me. I'll just explain everything in simple terms. So yeah, let's just take a look here. The basic attack is very basic, of course. It doesn't really do anything. Let me max out the abilities first, then we'll talk about the skills. Let me just max them out real quick. Yeah, level 10 and this one level 10. Alright, we're done. The basic attack is standard. 100% of Archer's attack to one designated enemy, deals quantum damage. Basic, normal. Let's talk about the main part of his kit, is the skill. So the skill, whenever you use the skill, you will enter the circuit connection state. This will deal quantum damage to enemies equal to 360% of Archer's attack to one designated enemy. After using skill in the circuit connection state, the current turn does not end and the damage dealt by the Archer skill increases by 100%. This effect can stack up to 2 times. So whenever you use this skill, you will enter into this state called circuit connection, and your turn will not end. You can take turn immediately after, and it's the same turn. It does not end the turn, so the buffs will not expire. That's the main thing to keep in mind. So this turn, it will last until he exits the circuit connection state. So how does he exit the state? Let's talk about that. After actively using the skill 5 times, or when the skill points are inefficient to use skill again. So when you enter the state, you can use the skill up to 5 more times in a row. Or if you don't have enough skill points to continue after like 2 or 3 times, then it will end the state. Exits the circle connection state. After all the targets have been defeated in the each wave, exit the circle connection state. So that's another way to end the state. Of course, in the middle, the fight, if you are in like a 2 or 3 skill in, and if you want to end the state, you will have an option to that. There will be another button below the skill button, which will be called, I think, like cancel, and you can end the state there. So that's like the main thing about the skill. Basically, you enter the state, you keep spamming the skill, that's about it, and you will retain all the buffs. So let's talk about the ultimate now. So the ultimate is just very simple. Deals quantum damage equal to 1000% of Archer's attack to one designated enemy. So it's a big nuke, very easy, nothing complicated. and gains 2 points of charge up to maximum of 4 points. So what are these charges? Let's talk about the charges in the talent now. After Archer's teammates attacks any enemy target, Archer consumes one of the charge and immediately launches a follow-up attack. So that's his follow-up attack on the primary target, dealing quantum damage equal to 200% of Archer's attack and recovers one skill point. This is the main part of the kit. So whenever your ally deals damage to any enemy, Archer will launch the follow-up attack if he has the charges, and the follow-up attack will recover one skill point. This will be very efficient because as you already saw, Archer will use a lot of his skill and spam it basically, so you do need a lot of skill points, so this will help him a lot. If the target is defeated before the follow-up attack, of course it will like target one random enemy, of course. So yeah, that's basically very simple. So that's basically the kit. Really simple to understand, nothing complicated. You use the skill, you spam the skill, you do the ultimate, and the follow-up attack will recover your skill points for you. That's basically it. Very simple TLDR. Let's talk about the technique. Immediately attacks enemies after entering combat, deals quantum damage equal to 200% of Archer's attack to all enemies and gain 1 points of charge. So the technique in his kit is the only ability that's not single target. His entire kit, his follow-up, his ultimate, his skill, his basic attack, all of them are single target. Just keep that in mind because might be some problems in down the line because of this single targetness. A little bit too much single target, I guess. But yeah, let's see about the traces now. So I checked this in few weeks ago when the kit newly came out. A lot of these abilities were like HP because a lot of these attacks are HP. I'm glad they changed it. It will give him more boost. The HP isn't really that useful for a DPS, right? So yeah, he gains 4% for 2.7% here. So that's the crit rate he gains. Gains some quantum damage and attack. So that's about it. Let's talk about the trace bonuses now. So the bonus abilities will be, the first one is, where is it? The first one is here. When Archer is on the field, increase the maximum skill point limit by 2. This is really useful because you will recover a lot of skill points through your teammates like Sparkle or through his follow-up attack. So the more skill point storage you have, the better the fight will be for you. Okay, let's talk about the next passive. When Archer enters combat, gains 1 point of charge. So it's just a head start to gaining more skill points and stuff and more damage basically. So it's just a head start in the start of the battle. That's basically it, nothing crazy. The last passive is after allies gain a skill point. If there are 4 skill points or more, increase Archer's skill damage by 120% for 1 turn. So whenever you use the skill, you would want to have 4 or more skill points to start with, so that you gain this 120%. But it will be very easy if you think about it, because every time you rotate through the characters and you go back to Archer, you will basically probably generate in 4 or more skill points through the teammates. Or if you didn't, if you had some teammates that use a skill, you can of course gain more skill points through his follow-up attack, which will like very helpful, right? So that's basically it. It's just kind of has 100% uptime. I think 99% of the time you will have this uptime. So yeah, that's basically it. So from his kit you can see he's like really single target character. Kit looks kind of nice because it should do a lot of damage. We'll see later. But yeah, if you want to like invest on him, he will be worth it. Obviously he will be a lot better than Sila is, but right now hopefully Sila receives some buffs. He will of course go to the same mono quantum team, of course, but we'll talk about the team that in the team section. Let's talk about the Eidolons, if you should invest into them or not, because he's of course free. So yeah, the E1, after using the skill 3 times within 1 turn, recovers 2 skill point for ally. So this is really crazy because it just means you get to use one more skill point, one more skill, or two, after you use 3 skill in single turn, right? So the E1 looks kind of strong. 2 skill points are kind of nice on that like situation. After you use 3 skills, you get more skill points. That's kind of nice, right? So that's just more damage. E2 will be when using ultimate, reduces the enemy target's quantum resistance by 20% and applies quantum weakness to it, lasting for 2 turns. So that's just more damage because quantum resistance is very good. Resistance in decrease or all that stuff is like really crazy in this game. Resistance increase, decrease, or respan, all that stuff are really nice for damage. E3 and E5 are kind of similar. The E2 will do a lot of damage basically. You can go for it. It's kind of nice. E4 is not that crazy in my opinion, because just 150% ultimate damage number, it's not that crazy. The ultimate already is a big nuke, you don't really need this. So the E6 will be when the turn starts, recovers 1 skill points for allies. The maximum number of stacks allowed for the damage boost effect provided by this until skill increases by 1. So the skill damage dealt will ignore 20% of defense. That's a crazy E6. Of course, it's not something like broken or something, but it does it does help a lot in the damage. 20% defense reduction, more stack on the skill point buff, because there's a trace, right, which will increases damage more based on the skill points. But yeah, that's like crazy. So in terms of it's it worth it or not, I'd say E2 would be kind of nice. E6 will of course do a lot of damage. E4 is not worth it. Don't go for the E4 obviously. Maybe stop at E2 or the E1. And if you want to know between the E1 or S1, obviously, I'd say there's no way you want to pull for the S1, right? Because if you are planning to pull on these banners, you might already have more than 200 pulls. So the S1 is basically free. You can get the S1 already if you like thinking about going for Eidolons. So in that case, I'd say E1 is pretty worth it, because it will increase your damage by a lot, and it will of course bring more comfortability in the team. So if you want to go for the E1, it's all right. You can go for it, of course. But yeah, with that, let's talk about his Lightcone options, and then we'll talk about his teams and builds. So the best option will obviously be signature. So the signature, of course, is, as I said, is not that crazy. It's just it's pretty close to the other options you will see here. Increase wearer's crit rate by 16% when entering combat if the ally skill points limits is 6 or higher. So this is why you want to use Sparkle on the team, obviously, so that you have 6 or higher skill point like spaces, of course. Increase the wearer's attack by 40% after each use of the wearer skill. And also, if you like, I think Archer himself will able to do this as well, because he increases the skill point limit by 1, right? And the maximum is 5 right now with him on the team. Even without Sparkle, it will be 6, and with Sparkle it will be even more. So yeah, even without Sparkle you can do it, of course. Increase the wearer's attack by 40% after each use of wearer skill. Increase the wearer's attack by 10%, stacking to 4 times. So that's like 40% attack and 16% crit rate. That's kind of nice, right? So obviously that's gonna be his best in slot, no denying that. That's like obviously the best choice for him. But if you don't have 200 pulls, don't feel forced to pull for it. Obviously I have a Lightcone guide here. So if you want to go for his Lightcone in like spending the 200 pulls, it's like you can get it, it's best in slot, but don't feel forced. As I said like 1,000 times, don't feel forced by this like FOMO stuff. The free options, the cruising of the stellar sea is a great alternative for this Lightcone, and it's of course in calculation, damage calculation, it will be very close. Obviously the signature is better, but it will be very close, so keep that in mind. A free choice is getting that close, you don't need to feel the FOMO. And the Doctor Ratio Lightcone and the Topaz Signature Lightcone, both of them works great as well. Of course, for Doctor Ratio we will need to use debuff, so we'll put that behind Topaz. It's not that recommended, I guess. We'll put Doctor Ratio actually here, because I don't think anyone will play debuff teams with him. So yeah, I'll just put it here. Basically, if you have the Topaz one, you can use this one. Of course, the Fascia one also works, so I'll put that here. The Fascia one gives you more damage, and let's take a look right now. It also gives you defense ignore a little bit on the ultimate or something. I kind of forgot what it does. It's been so long since Fascia. So yeah, okay. Increase crit rate by 15%, and when a wearer launches follow-up attack, he can launch follow-up attack against 1 stack of Lumin Flux to max 2 stacks. Each stack of Lumin Flux enables the ultimate damage dealt by the wearer to ignore 27% of the target's defense. That's like really good, right? 27% target's defense ignore, it's like really good. Yeah. So of course keep in mind it's only for the ultimate, not for his main damage source, which is his skill. So yeah, that's kind of like that there. Of course you also have the Sealy Lightcone, but it also has a problem because you need a lot of speed, and you don't really want to build speed on him if you are using someone like Sparkle. You want to run a slow archer, So yeah, on that note, it's kind of a. But yeah, but the best options are obviously gonna be the Cruising of the Stellar Sea Lightcone from the Hut store. Topaz one also kind of good. Fascia ones you can use, but for only ultimate damage, I guess the skill damage will not be increased by a lot. Of course, you can use these 4-star options. Sword play will be very nice, and this new battle pass of Lightcone is also nice. The other options are like these are not that good of options. You can use this one as well. The Doctor SG one, as I said, you need debuffs, so not the recommended. And as for the other hunt light cones, don't use them, they're not that good for him. So yeah, that's the tier list basically. Basically, if you don't have nothing, just use the free one. That's basically it, right? Very simple, very straightforward. Let's talk about his builds now. So what builds should you use on him? Which sets you should use on him? So let's talk about the relics. So obviously, he is a quantum character, right? You will use the same set, of course, which even though you are not quantum, you can use this set. Genius of Brilliant Stars, of course, quantum damage. If the enemy has quantum weakness, you can we ignore the target's defense more. So yeah, this is obviously the best in slot. If you don't have it farmed or don't have good pieces on it, and need a little bit more help in the crit rate because he's single target, he does a lot of single target damage, and you need a lot of crit rate on him basically to crit. Otherwise, that's a lot of DPS loss. You can use the other set. Let me find it real quick. It's really hard to find the sets, man, not gonna lie. Yeah, this one, Scholar of Lost of Illusion set. This set is also kind of nice on him because it will increase the skill and ultimate damage, which is basically everything it does other than the follow-up attack. This set will be second best after the quantum set. So you can use any of the one you want. This one will help you a little bit more on the crit rate, but the quantum set is better, more damage. Just keep that in mind. As for planar ornaments, use inerts. You have two options, right? Whichever one has better substats, use that one. Between inert Salsoto, this one, of course, ultimate and follow-up damage bonus, and Rutland Arena, which is basic attack and skill damage bonus. He does a lot of skill damage, that's why it's comparable. So any of this, both of them, Rutland Arena and inert Salsoto, whatever has better substats, use that one. As for main stat and substats, I have made this here. So you want crit rate on the body because he's a hunt character and most of his damage is like one big nukes. So you do need higher crit rate to crit every time. So of course must use crit rate here. Get as much as crit rate as possible. Use attack boost boots. Don't use speed. If you're playing with Sparkle, definitely don't use speed. Use a high high speed Sparkle and a slow archer. That will be the best choice. If you're using someone like Sunday, I think you can do it because you can use 135 Archer and 134 Sunday, but it won't be better than the Sparkle one. Sparkle one is the best in slot team. So yeah, of course, use quantum damage on the body and attack on the rope. As for substats, get at a crit and attack. That's basically nothing crazy. And speed if you need it for like some speed tuning, but I'd say slow Archer is better than the other options. But yeah, let's talk about his teams now with all that out of the way. So for his teams, these are basically the general teammates I found. Other than this, you can also get some other teams on the way, but other teammates on the way I meant, but these will be generally your best in slot. So for Archer, he's kind of like Sila in that sense, because he can use the mono quantum team like this. But I put Fusion lower because as a sustain, in this day and age, Fusion is not that crazy. She's not working that well. Hopefully with her addition to the 50-50 lose like characters, if you get some copies of her for like example like the E2 or something, she will be kind of good because yeah, she has some good constellation in terms of survivability and stuff. So yeah, so the best choice, obviously his best in slot is Sparkle. There's no replacement for Sparkle. She's so broken with him. She finally brought back to the meta with Archer in some. She found some use case here. Ever since she like got power crept by Sunday basically. Sunday is of course very skill point efficient with the with his signature. So yeah, with Archer, Sparkle will be really, really nice. Of course, the newly buffed Saber Wolf is very crazy with her constant damage debuff, and she of course deals some good damage herself as well. So these can work pretty well together. Of course, you have a lot of quantum like teammates on the team, so it will be easier for her to like apply the quantum weakness, but it's not even that like hard right now, because he will always prioritize the first teammate on the team to apply their weakness. So that's like pretty nice. And you can of course use Trivi as well. Trivi is very nice because he has some AoE damage, a lot of AoE damage. He has can use DDD. She has all type respect. She has damage taken increase for the enemies, so she's really broken. You can use Trivi. Of course, Trivi can make up for his lack of AoE as well. So yeah, Trivi can work as well. But I would say the best team is gonna be Archer, Sparkle, Silver Wolf, and Sustain. Any of them. You can basically use like a mono quantum tip with Fushuan, or you can use Luocha or Gallagher. Basically, any of the teammates that generate skill points will be nice. You can of course use Cypher, but actually Cypher is not that good. But you can use her. That's why I put her in the list. Otherwise, I don't. So Cypher is not that crazy in the terms of the team building. I'd say Silver Wolf will be best in slot for you, or just using Tribu will be better. But if you like have Tribu's need another team, for example, like a Castor's team, you can use Cypher in this one if you have her, or like Silver Wolf. But of course, if you don't have Sparkle, consider using Hania. Hania skill point generation and all that stuff is kind of nice. In terms of all this, he is also kind of like Imbibe Luna. You can see the same teammates kind of. You can use Sparkle, you can use Hania. I'll use all that as well because he's also very skill point hungry. And Archer is the same way. So yeah, and yeah, that's about it. Basically, Archer needs someone that generates a lot of skill points like Hania or Sparkle, and he needs of course a damage amplifier and a debuffer or a buffer for like 3B or like Silver Wolf, or someone like Cypher who can like steal the damage and do the damage herself. That also works. And of course a Sustain who can generate a lot of skill points. Push one doesn't generate so much. It's like +1 every 2 turns. But Lucha is of course +1 every turn. Gallagher is also very nice. You do need a good Sustain in this team because Archer is very squishy. But this is it for the team section. So overall, I think Archer will be a really good character. Should you build him or not? I think you should, because if building character is the fun. But as a new player, you can also build him because he will be very nice. If you don't have some of these characters, it's gonna be kind of rough. If you don't have Sparkle or something, if you don't have any of this Sparkle, Silver Wolf, or someone like Tribi, or anyone like Cypher, I will say please don't build him, because yeah, without proper support, some of the DPS really cannot function. And with his best in slot support will be Sparkle. So yeah, for new players without these guys, some of these characters, it's gonna be kind of rough. But you can probably get them in the future, in the rerun or something. I think Sparkle rerun is coming out. I wouldn't recommend getting Sparkle right now because there are a lot better options. Just get Sunday or something. You would get Sparkle specifically for him, which is not ideal because he's like the only character that would want Sparkle right now. And of course, Imbibe Lune would want Sparkle as well, but he's kind of bad. We might see some buffs in the future, and the buffs might fix them, just like it happened with Blade and Jingliu. But yeah, with that, we have come to the end of this guide. Let me know what you think about this character. If you're gonna build him or not. If you are a fan of the Fate series, of course you're gonna build him. I know. So yeah. Also, don't, as I said for the 1,000th times, don't feel forced to pull for this Lightcone by spending 200 pulls. Yeah, don't give in to the stat like temptation or something. But yeah, so yeah, I wish you good luck on your pulls in the fate banners, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the guide, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.